Abaticola and Ferrari discuss everything. With Matt Abaticola.
Son, your ego is writing checks your body can't cash.
I'm sorry I ruined your New Year's Eve party. She tastes like cigarettes.
And Jason Ferrari.
I'm very important. I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Two complete nincompoops with microphones and access to the World Wide Web. Presented by Mickey Finn's Brewery in Libertyville, Lake County's oldest brew pub. Now, here are your hosts for this shit show, Abaticola and Ferrari.
Hello there, podcast friends, and welcome into another episode of Abaticola and Ferrari Discuss Everything. He's Jason Ferrari. I'm Matt Abaticola. We are brought to you by our good friends over at Mickey Finn's, Lake County's oldest brew pub, located at 345 North Milwaukee Avenue in beautiful and historic downtown Libertyville. Check them out on social media, on Twitter at Mickey Finn's, Facebook page as well. You can connect with us on social media as well. Our Twitter account is at AFDE Show. You can email us anytime, afdeshow@gmail.com. And, of course, you can like and go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/AFDE Show. Again, he's Ferrari, I'm Abaticola, and this is where we discuss everything. Welcome into episode number 23, and this is a very, very special one. We are breaking format for this week's episode as we have a guest coming on. Our technically our second guest of our podcast series.
First over cordless phone.
First over cordless phone, and our first one in this format. He's a guy that you know very well in Chicago radio. I worked with him closely, developed a very loving and personal, intimate sexual relationship with him for 14 years. He's, of course, a radio icon, a legend in Chicago sports radio. It is none other than my good friend Terry Boers. Hello, Terry.
Hello, Mr. Intimate. How are you?
Well, I'm a little lonely without you being so far away.
Apparently, he needs a hug.
Yes, I am. I'm out of the cold.
Yeah, you're lucky because it's been nice the last few days, but it's like single digits again, and we're getting. I think they said somewhere between like 10 to 12 inches of snow over the next couple of days. So
sweet.
You're missing out on all of that.
Oh my God! You know what? I'm going to come back and get some of it. Oh God! I'm just chilling out.
Yeah, I know you're chilling out, and it's good. I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing, and you're getting out of the cold. So it's been almost 13 months since that last show we had in the Blue Cross Blue Shield studio there for CBS Radio, which is no longer CBS Radio. And I know you have been spending time down in Florida. You had your memoir that came out in the fall, The Score of a Lifetime, 25 Years of Chicago Radio. First of all, how are you feeling? How you doing? And how's the book been? How's retirement been for you?
And I'm okay. I'm doing okay. I mean, about as well as you can expect. The book did great, by the way. I mean, it's still selling, and it did, I think, more than what the publishing company thought it was going to do. Certainly, I wasn't sure, Matt. You know, I mean, you just never know. You just don't know how you're going to be received. But I think it went very, very well thus far, and we're going to have an audio book that I can't do because I can't possibly try to get through a book the way I'm configured these days. So it's hard enough to write it, let alone to read it. So Brendan McCaffrey is going to do it.
Yes.
Baldy McGrindy is going to be my voice.
Yeah, how did that come about? I saw that on Twitter, and I thought that was fantastic. I couldn't have been happier to see that.
Agreed.
Well, two things. First of all, he knows the act pretty damn well. He was around a long time. And second of all, he probably could use a little extra money. So I figured, well, you know, I really can't. I mean, no, I could use the money. I just couldn't. You know, I can't do it for that long. I can't keep speaking for that long. So it's a convenient thing, and I know a lot of people were disappointed, and I hope they're not too disappointed not to give it a shot, because it's surprising how many people are interested in this. It shocks me. I mean, I don't know if you don't want to read or if you just want to, whatever it is, it's fine. But I didn't realize that audiobooks were quite the market they are. There's quite a market for them. And this one has some promise, too, when he gets done with it. So I figured if anybody can do it quick and reasonably fast, it'd be Brendan. He's got all the equipment there. The publishing company is on Franklin Street in Chicago. They can send somebody over, and all the stuff is there. So, I mean, it sort of cuts out every middleman you would get in your way of making some progress and getting it done. So I figured that's probably the fastest, best way to do it.
Now, knowing you on the personal level that I knew you, I'm not surprised to hear you say you didn't know what to expect with the book, that you probably went into it, Terry, thinking that it wasn't going to be all that popular or wanted by people, because that's just who you are. That's how you are. I knew that it would be immensely popular, that the Chicago market would want to eat this up and hear the inside stories, hear your thoughts that maybe weren't on the air for 25 years. So I'm glad to hear that it was well received, and even more well received than the publisher expected. That's always great to hear. I know you had low expectations for it because it's just how you are by yourself. But I mean, it's 25 years and a day one guy from January 2nd of 1992 on the score, in 25 years, Terry, is just an absolute incredible run. So I'm glad and so happy that you're doing well too. So 1 year in the books, retirement, how's that going for you? What's going on? What does Terry Boers do in retirement?
Well, let's see. Right now, not much. I sort of use this time here, a couple of months down here, just to sort of plan what I want to do this year. I mean, I'm not going to completely retire by going into a coma somewhere. I'm going to continue to do stuff. So I got a couple things. I'm going to try some stand-up comedy. I have an offer to do that, so I'm going to do that.
Wait, seriously?
Seriously, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. That's great.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking I'm going to get a lot of practice in the months ahead, speaking to people and to various groups and so forth. And I don't think I want to write another book because at this point in time, I'm not saying I won't because I probably will, but at this time I just don't feel like doing it again. I'm going to do something different, keep exploring, having fun with life, see what you can find. So I'm going to try to hook on, see if anybody's interested. And there's a couple of really well-known speakers bureaus around Chicago. And I'm figuring, well, I mean, I'll give them a call and I haven't done it yet, but I've been kind of doing my homework on it and checking it out and seeing what they think. And, Maddie, you're being a better judge than I would be of this. What do you think? Would there be some groups of all the people that have a speaker in or whatever? You think anybody be interested in dumbass me?
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
I think there are several different categories, Terry, of people that would love to hear from you, whether it's the absolute sports nuts. And if the right people grab a hold of you and they market properly to the right audience, there's a group of sports nuts that would love to hear your stories. And, I mean, you could break it down into segments of covering the Bulls in the 90s, covering Jordan as a rookie when he came in the league, talking about the Bears and your experiences with Ditka. I mean, you could break up categories, do that so easily. You could talk to young people in colleges that want to get into journalism, that want to write for newspapers. You could talk about newspapers itself that want to get into radio. I mean, there are so many different aspects that you could get into. You want to talk about, wrestling bears. You could do that. There's a segment of people that would listen to that stuff. So
I want to meet those people.
Picture, yeah.
No, those people I don't want to meet.
The fine
got me in 17 seconds.
Yeah. No, Terry, I think that would be a brilliant idea, and there certainly would be a demand. Oh my God, I hope that happens, and I hope you stick with it and pursue it and get the right company involved, because if it's marketed properly, there are any numbers of groups that you could speak to. That would be great.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm flexible about it. Whatever interests you. Is it life that interests you? I can talk about life. I mean, I think I've experienced enough of it in my 67 years to have a pretty good idea. And if it's sports, I can do that. If it's something else, I can probably do that as well. So it was just something I was brainstorming the other day and thinking, I just don't know if I want to write another book, because, once you write a book and you're sort of branded as that kind of writer, this guy that does that, then the next one, if I want to sit down and write a novel, say, and I do have ideas for that and short stories as well, they wouldn't be interested. I mean, it's just that the publishing business is so strange. It's very difficult. And they kind of put you in this niche, and you can't necessarily escape it. I mean, I think I could, but I'm not willing to risk, 3 or 4 months of sitting down and writing every day for nothing. Where if I do the other thing and I just kind of explore it, get my feet a little wet, see what people think, and I'll have some practice. I have some dates already set for some other type of speaking. I feel like, well, if they're interested, and I hone my craft a little bit, I think I can hold a crowd for, whether you half hour or whatever, 45 minutes. I think I can do that. I think I did that for 25 years and had nothing to say. See, I actually, Matt, now I would have something to say.
Most days, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's not on the producers at all.
No, it's not. You're right.
I know.
It's not his fault. No. It was not his fault. No.
Yeah, I'm just looking at him. So, and that's kind of our relationship. Not as intimate as yours.
That's exactly. Well, not intimate yet. But I
yeah,
that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah. Well, you will. He'll get to you. I just sort of, kind of thinking out loud. That's what I've been doing, and that's what I use some of this time for when I'm not getting, running into the softball wall I've hit. But I mean, I just sort of thinking about stuff and what I want to do, and I don't want to be somewhere every day. I'm not interested in doing that anymore. I don't want to be somewhere every day. So, I mean, this would be somewhere maybe once a month or something. So whatever they decided on. But I think if you're going to try to keep your name out there a little bit, that's probably the best way to do it. Keep it out there a little bit. So, other than doing a podcast, but I don't think I just don't want to be tied down to a certain spot at a certain time. Not yet.
Right. That makes sense. And for anything that I've read about or talked to people about, like the guest lecturer or the public speaking or doing things like that, it's extremely lucrative. And like you said, it's completely flexible because they base it around your availability and your interest, so you could, you could click it off for a little while and then call them up and be like, okay, I'm ready to go again. And Matt had I like his idea. I mean, it would almost be like episodic, you could come in and this time you're talking about a specific time period. The sky's the limit with that. I think that would be really cool.
Oh, great. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm just, it's going to try. I think that's going to be this year's project, is to see if I like it. And like I said, I've got a couple things coming up, some schools and stuff like that. But I just sort of hone your craft a little bit. And then I got the stand-up comedy, which I'll do off the top of my head. Because if you write it, then you have to remember it. I won't remember it.
It's so amazing. Are you going to do that in like a smoky basement in the Catskills? No, I'm picturing like a retirement home in Florida, like around 9:30 a.m. right before morning nap, right after the visiting kids piano recital. Right.
Doing stand-up at the nudist colony. I live about 20 miles away from the nudist colony. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, is this where all the dicks hang out? Or?
Hey, how about that? So
there you go.
We'll see. But yeah, it won't be a smoky room. It's an outside place. It's a place where the Who Needs To Tavern Tour stopped a couple times.
Oh, really?
It's in Frankfurt. It's called CD and Me. It's kind of a giant concert venue. It's an old sod farm that they built into a concert venue and a wedding venue and a everything else venue, and then whatever you want it to be. And I'm serious though about doing it off the top of your head, because I figure what's going on. Just take one day, whatever day you want to pick a week. What's going on? Do you really need to write comedy with what's going on? Do you really need to, or can you just sort of react to it?
Well, right? You can it can be Terry's improv. You don't have to be doing sketch comedy, but definitely someone could throw a topic your way and you just go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's basically what you did for 25 years there. I mean, where it was, we'd walk in the studio, the light would go on, and we would just talk about the news of the day, whether it was sports or not. And, I mean, you always have thoughts and opinions on things. And this format, too, I don't know how blue you would want to get, but you wouldn't have any restrictions as far as what you want to say or what you could do.
Oh, very blue, yeah. Oh, no. There's only one way to be blue, and that's very blue. I absolutely will be that. I mean, this is the venue that would lend itself to it. I think every comedic venue would. That's worth a damn. So, no, this would definitely give a chance to hear the real me. But I was thinking about it the other day again, and I'm thinking, well, it's been so great, but it ain't going to get any worse. I mean, there's just something happening every day that you can just start taking off on. And once they take off on something, 5 minutes into it, I'll start taking off on something else. So I think it'll be okay if I jot down a couple things here and there that I want to remember. and just avoid listening to any other comics so I don't, get the habit of, I heard that thing, I like that, I think I'll use that. No, I don't want to use that. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's just for a lark, something, the guy kind of wanted me to do it forever, so I thought, he pushed me like almost 2 years ago with it, and I said, we're friends, but I said, not right now. We'll see down the road sometime before I got sick and all that stuff. So, but I'm this time, Maddie. I'm going to do it. We're going to set a date, and I will be out there doing it.
We're going to be there for sure.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, you have to make sure you tell us of the dates.
We'll be the ones throwing questions at you, like the meanest people in the audience.
To heckle you.
Hecklers, yeah.
But that's another thing, too, about it, Terry, is that you have so many people in the media in Chicago that absolutely love you that would promote all of that like crazy.
Oh,
so,
for sure.
We'll definitely have to keep in touch on the dates on that and get that out there for you. So you mentioned one of the things that you're doing down there in Florida, and I didn't believe you when you brought it up on the phone
or on the Twitter machine.
Was playing softball.
Yeah, I am.
So what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on here?
40 years. Yeah, the last game I played was in 1978 for the Detroit Free Press. I got there in let's see, it was June of '78, and there was late in August, while I was still on the desk, it was a Saturday game. There was they were in a league, and it was the semifinals of the league, and they said, well, why don't you come out and play? So I said, well, okay. It was way out in Dearborn. So my one and only appearance, because once you get to a certain age, you just kind of have to get away from it, because when you're working 3 to 11:30, softball's pretty much out of your life. Bowling's all this stuff is pretty much out of your life, which I stayed with for a long time. And then the Sun-Time never had another chance to do it. So I was terrific that day. It was great that day. And right now, I suck. I'm just god awful. I had a ball hit to me, probably less than a foot to my right. I had got I'm right-handed, so I wasn't going to stick my hand in front of it because it was smoked. But I mean, it's like I barely moved a muscle, and it was in right field. I mean, it's like nice reaction time. Really seriously. I mean, some of these guys, they've been playing forever, and let me tell you, and how slow I am. There's a guy with a prosthetic leg that could run rings around me.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding you.
Hey, buddy,
I'm not kidding
so fast. Hey, buddy.
You're making me look bad.
Take your leg off, buddy. You find that man. That one-legged man.
Oh, my God. Was it like a friend of Harrison Ford?
Yeah. Well, that's good, though. I'm glad you're playing softball. I know you always loved competing and playing different sports. When you told me that, Terry, I was really just, I was just happy that you're able to get out there and play softball and be active that way. I know 2016 and getting into 2017 was just really rough for you physically and health-wise. So hearing that you're doing that it's tremendous to hear. So I'm happy for you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm trying to avoid getting hit in the head again. I got hit in the head once. So I got hit a smoking line. This guy hits the hell out of the ball. I didn't know that.
You got hit in the head with a 60-inch softball?
At least it's a softer
the ball glanced off my glove and it hit the top of my head. It floored. It's like I got punched by Joe Frazier. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. No, it's George Michael Sports Machine.
You know what you need to do, Terry? You need to have Peach video some of these plays so that you can put them on Twitter.
Oh
my God.
Or you can maybe set up a race down the first baseline with the guy with one leg.
Say either that or have the camera cut the prosthetic leg guy out.
I guarantee you I couldn't beat him. I guarantee you. I guarantee you that guy would beat me. I mean, I don't know if it's a war thing or he's probably 75 to 80 besides, and still outrunning me with one leg.
Well, that's actually less depressing for you and more impressive for him.
Right.
That guy's a badass.
Man. That's what I told him. I said, Jesus Christ, stop making me look so bad, would you, dude? I mean, relax.
God bless you.
But anyway, it's just sort of a fun thing.
Outside of softball, what are you doing with your time? I know you're plotting and planning things to do down the road. What's a regular day for you down in Florida now?
Oh, well, we play softball 3 times a week.
Oh, geez.
We play Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So we have like It depends on how many guys show up. Last Saturday, there's like 40 guys that showed up. So we had 3 different teams, and it was confusing as hell, and I still don't know what the hell just happened. So, I mean, I really don't. I have no idea. And then today we just had enough for, 10 on the side. So it's difficult to tell. But so we spend probably 2.5 hours out there in the mornings. We start at 8:30 in the morning. There's nobody, you want to be around the floor. As soon as it starts to heat up a little bit, you get the hell out of that. Yeah, enough of that. That's fine. I don't need to be out in the sun. But so I do that 3 times a week.
Probably by 8:30, you guys have been up for 4 or 5 hours.
No, not me. No,
right.
That's
you got to go
thing
catch
about
the
this.
early buffet at the 4 o'clock dinner buffet.
That's our neighbor. I mean, we had him over for dinner last night, and I know they like to eat early, right? So I said, well, why don't you come over about 5 or something? He said, how about if we come over at 4:30? Okay, all right. But that's what he does.
Picturing your retirement being the parents in Seinfeld in Boca.
Oh, it's kind of like that. So really the rest of the time I don't. We go to the beach, sit at the beach, and I read, and nothing really exciting. Just staying the hell out of the cold and giving me a chance to think about things and kind of put together a battle plan. But nothing. It's been there's been a couple times here already where it's been a little cold, so we haven't done much. But we were out today at a beautiful restaurant sitting outside. I don't know if you saw the story, if it ran in Chicago very much, about the boat that burned. There's a boat that takes you out to a gambling boat, and it burned. Do you remember that story? It's about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Something about a boat and then again, yeah.
Yeah, because they're all jumping off the boat, and luckily the water was only about knee deep, thigh deep, maybe on some of them. And so they were jumping into the water. Well, that's what we were out by that boat. And because I said to the waiter today, because we were sitting outside just enjoying this beautiful day today, and I said, well, have any boats, any boat fires while you have it? We were there a couple weeks ago. Love the place, great place. And he said, no, it happened just around the bend to where we couldn't see it. He said, damn, we were mad, man. We couldn't even see the smoke, and we knew something was going on because all the things that were happening. He said, well, you couldn't quite see because it just got around the bend. So this boat burns with all these, and there's people are jumping off, and guys, they're my age. They're not kids. It's not like, well, they'll be fine. And then this 42-year-old woman gets out of it fine and goes to the hospital and dies, and they still haven't figured out what killed her. They still haven't figured out what killed her. So and nobody knows. I mean, I can't quite believe it, but it is Florida where things are odd anyway. But that's the only fatality, but all these old people jumping out of this boat. I don't know if you guys saw the video. But
I didn't.
It's
terrible,
really,
but the vision is funny.
Oh, it really is. Talking about breaking a hip, but so that's where we were today. Just when we went out there to make sure everything was okay. They need me to drive the boat. I take care of it for them. I can't drive the boat, but how could I be any worse?
Just look at them.
That's right. Have a couple drinks and say, "Let's go."
I could totally see that you getting down there and just holding court like you always did. So probably the mayor of that area, here comes Terry Boers and holding court just like you always did.
I don't know about that, but it was a so that was today's adventure. We went out there. I needed a few things. She needed a few things. So we just it's just sort of a nice leisurely pace, not doing too much. Saturday we got some stuff planned, going to a place we really like in Clearwater. So just a little bit of here and there. And the beach is now empty. When spring break gets here, then you don't go near a beach. So that, man. And the thing about spring break now is like 2 months long.
Oh, yeah, because
somebody's
schools are on different, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's, oh, my
Where
God.
are you in Florida?
We are in Newport Richey, which is...
Okay, so you're, that's like Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area?
Yeah, Tampa, yeah. We are 20 minutes from Tampa, 25 minutes from Clearwater, and I can drive to the Trop if I want to see the Rays game. Me and the 3 other people who like them,
including the players.
Including the players. Oh, things are really going to be bad now, by the way, because they're all gone. They traded everybody. About all they have left is Chris Archer, who looks like he's going to have to stay here, but it's miserable. They're trying to build a new stadium, and nobody And this isn't one of those places where you can get somebody to pony up the dough. You know, they're not offering them anything. None of the cities, not Tampa, not St. Pete, nobody is offering them any money.
I think that's Florida in general too. I mean, they're, you know, other than the 72 Dolphins, you know, like you don't hear a lot about slammed Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, and Dolphin games, or like Heat. You know, like even when they're really good, you see empty seats. It's just, I don't know what's with Florida fans.
I know. You know what they love here now, of course, because it's the Lightning. Not the actual Lightning, that's all the time. But I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning is the hottest thing in town, and it's so funny because nobody goes to another game of anything in this town. They're at the hockey game, though. And when you go to a Tampa game, the only time Tampa baseball puts anybody in the stadium is if the Yankees are there, Boston is there, Philadelphia may make a rare trip down there. I'm sure they've been there since the interleague play began way back when. But they, you know, one thing about baseball is, and football too, to some extent, is that your football team, your baseball team is generally where you're from. And a lot of the people who live around here, who made it their home, have no interest in a Tampa team. They're Yankee fans, they're Jet fans, whatever they would be.
Right. They're transplants.
And it's a heavy New York influence here. Yeah. So nobody's interested, and especially the baseball. I mean, the Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers don't sell out the stadium. Haven't sold out the stadium in a while. I think they average like 45,000 or something a game, which by NFL standards we know isn't all that good. But they're not
actually show up like ours.
Yeah,
where
that's it. Yeah,
61,000 and 30,000 show up.
Yeah, they just don't. And I mean, and the Rays have been the low in attendance, I think, twice in the last 3 years, the lowest Major League Baseball team. I want to say are in the bottom three for sure. They average like 16,000, and I think that's padding to say they average 16,000 in some a game. Because you can't make any money with it. I mean, even a baseball team can't make any money with 16,000 people averaging that. And then some nights 8,000 or 7,000.
Wow. Now,
so
are you following up on? Are you still heavy into sports? Did you take time away after you left the station?
I took time away.
Yeah. Do you listen to sports radio at all?
Not much. No. There's not much at all. I just, it's not that I hate anybody. I like everybody. I just don't, you know, it follows at the time of the day and here and there, you know, when I'm out in the car, but basically no. And I don't watch as much either. I mean, I've just sort of backed away from all of it. I mean, I just, you know, when you lived it for so long and you prepped for it for so long and you read for it, you just want to take a break. I just, and as goofy as things are these days, with this guy yelling calling Tom Brady's kid a pissant and everything else that goes on in sports, I mean, I think there's just a time to kind of separate yourself from it and see if you miss it. I don't miss it. If that makes sense to you. I don't miss it. Do you listen?
Oh, yeah. I've seen it firsthand, you know, when you on a much grander scale, obviously, but when Matt left, he just unplugged, you know, like, and then when we started doing this show, until people were asking over and over and over, we didn't have any sports-related content whatsoever. So, you know, I can only imagine what it's like after doing it for as long as you did. Just be like, yeah, I kind of don't give a shit for a little while.
Yeah, because my last day, the Cubs were in Colorado, and it was early May, and then I didn't even turn a Cubs game on until June sometime, and the Cubs were playing Colorado again, and I was like, geez, this is all they play are the Rockies now, because this is not entertaining. So I'm like, well, I'm going to turn this off, and I didn't watch Cubs until the playoffs started. Then I watched every game. Unfortunately, my oldest son, Henry, he just turned 5 January 1st. He's for some reason, one night we were out and the Bulls were playing the Hornets. It was Nico's first game back. And Henry was like, Daddy, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's the Bulls game, Bulls and the Hornets. And he's like, who do we cheer for? And I'm like, we cheer for the Bulls. He's like, okay. So he started watching. And Terry, was the funniest thing. You would have loved it as the grandpa that you are. He was living and dying with every point scored. And, I mean, this is a basketball game. And I'm like, buddy, you got to relax. I mean, there's a lot of time to go. But the Hornets would score. He would get mad and slam the table. The Bulls would score. He was yelling and high-fiving. Terry, since that game, Nico's first game back, he has watched a portion of every game since, or the entire game, with the exception of last night, which was a 9 o'clock start. And he is like he went to a Bulls game on MLK Day when they played the Heat and destroyed the Heat, that matinee game. It's unbelievable how much he's got into the Bulls. Yeah, and so I have to watch it now.
I will always have a soft spot. I haven't watched much NBA basketball this year, and even though I still love the NBA, because I think I will always have a soft spot in my heart because that's where it started. I mean, getting the Bulls when I got them in '83.
Well, you started the Bulls right before Jordan. Yeah, okay.
Right before Jordan, and then during, and then because I was the only one who was excited. I mean, the old damn town was excited about it. Nobody seemed to give a crap that Michael Jordan was coming to town. Because I went out there, he had impressive ability. It's in the book, and nobody was there but me. And I'm thinking, am I wrong about that? Is there something wrong with me that I want to see him, but nobody else wants to see him? I mean, do you realize who this is here? Do you understand this? Have you watched him? So I will always have a soft spot in my heart for the NBA, and plus the fact I really like the people involved with the NBA. Tim Hallam from the Bulls was terrific, and still is. And I think there's something about it that everybody in the NBA, more so than baseball or anything, seems to get it. If that makes sense to you, they're not that creepy NFL stuff that goes on and all that whisper and all that other stuff. It's just all out there in front of you. They keep it all out there in front of you. You can make friends. You can get people who will help you and do all the other things. So I will always, in my heart, have a soft spot for the NBA. Always.
Yeah, no, and you're spot on with that because it's what the thing with the NBA is it's genuine. It's not put on for a particular show or to try to gain a friendship. The interaction you have with NBA teams is genuine. The interaction with players is genuine, with coaches. I mean, two of the most entertaining and thoughtful guys come from the NBA, and Pop and Kerr. Now, other teams in town, and we've experienced this, Terry, with the Blackhawks or the Cubs at certain points of their times while we were on the air and you were doing your thing for 25 years. It was done as a PR motivation, and that's fine, because they treated us well at certain times and did certain things for us. But NBA-wise, it always seemed like it wasn't for a purpose or motivation. It was always genuine. Yeah,
that's what I think. I mean, it's exactly what I think. And the NFL is like covering the CIA. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So I think there's that's why I will always have that spot for the NBA because, my favorite thing, ball don't lie. I mean, I don't need your help. I can see it. Maybe a baseball player, this or that, or something is going on. You never know with a baseball player. Maybe one day they'll say something to you. Next day they'll act like they've never seen you before. NFL guys, you only get limited access to, and they hate you anyway. So it's like, okay, I'm good. I can just always go to an NBA game as long as they're playing somewhere, and I'll always feel at home. And I always did after that. Even when I was writing a column, still going to the Bulls and the Pistons games, and the great series of the late '80s and so forth. And when they won the first championship, I always felt like, you know what, I still belong here. I still belong here. A lot of stuff I feel like an interloper you're going into. The Olympics, complete interloper. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. So I just feel perfectly at home with the NBA and the people. And you're right. The people to me are more interesting. And they probably actually might not be, but they allow themselves to be. Where in other sports, closer to the vest, too much whispering and talking and, oh, this is, did you hear about this? And yeah, right. Okay, fine. But those guys.
Talking.
Or no talking, yeah, those guys, yeah, like John Fox, like they would talk to himself. But I mean, there's just not that sort of thing going on. It just is a more, to me anyway, an easier cover, a better cover, a more fun thing to do than it is to. If I had to go to a baseball game every day, I would have killed myself. I mean, with those guys, some of them, oh my God. In the NFL, no way in hell. No way.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do it certainly as long as guys we worked with or guys that we respected in town. But just that one season, Terry, where I went to most every home game in 2011 for the Cubs, the Mike Quaddy era, I wanted to drink even heavier than I was drinking at that time, and sometimes just throw myself off the roof of Wrigley because it was just, those were brutal days. I mean, that was like, sometimes 12 to 15-hour days where you're just sitting around doing nothing, and you're covering a 60-win baseball team with a guy who I loved dearly but was an absolute lunatic who thought he deserved like a contract extension with, bad players and just bad attitudes and no crowds, and it seemed like it rained every day at Wrigley. It was brutal.
Yep. I know. It's just there's too much of it. There's too many of them, and I understand why they get tired of us, just as we get tired of them. I completely understand why they would. I mean, I get it. That's every damn day you're out there, in their face or around them, or it's like, oh God, no, please.
So
no more.
Before we get into, and we are talking with Terry Boers, Chicago radio legend. Before we get into Sundays, I want to get your thoughts on the game Sunday and everything leading up to it. It's been kind of very uneventful Super Bowl week, but a great place to check it out if you're here in town in Chicago. Our very good friends, Will's Northwoods Inn. They are at 3030 North Racine here in the Lakeview area. Sunday they have, I looked up on their website. Check them out, willsnorthwoodsinn.com. Sunday, $4 JAMO shots, $2.50 PBR. I mean, if the game sucks, you're drinking $4 JAMO shots, $2.50 PBR. Will's Northwoods Inn, great food, fantastic people. And listen to this. This is cool, Terry. They have coming up in April. I know it's far away, but I'm planning on going to this. It's Packer Palooza. Will's Northwoods Inn is a big Wisconsin bar. Yep. Packers, Badgers. Saturday, 4/28. Check out their website, willsnorthwoodsinn.com. They're going to have more ticket information, more player information coming up soon. As of right now, Devontae Adams and Jerry Kramer are scheduled to be there.
Kramer's there all the time.
Kramer's there all the time?
All the time, yeah.
So that's going to be a great event. So check out willsnorthwoodsinn.com, 3030 North Racine. If you have no plans for Sunday for the game, get there, $4 JAMO, $2.50 PBR, more specials than that, but those are the highlights for me when I saw on the website. But, Terry, Sunday's game, you have the Patriots and the Eagles. What are your thoughts, your impressions of Super Bowl week, and then what do you think the game's going to be like?
Super Bowl week, we did so many of them early when the score began, and then we did the last one that we did 50. When I was in bad shape, my knee was gone, my back everything was hurting, but I did it anyway. I kind of enjoyed that. I enjoyed those weeks more than the game. I think the lead-up is sometimes better than the game. But in this case, maybe not. Maybe not. I had Jacksonville and Philadelphia in the Super Bowl. I narrowly missed. I just missed my net.
When did you have Jacksonville?
I love it. I thought Jacksonville was going to beat the Patriots.
Me too. Towards the end, I thought it was going to be a Jacksonville.
I mean, not during the game, but before the game, and then it was 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, which of course is never safe. But I mean, I just thought so. I don't know why I thought so, and I kind of think the Eagles are going to beat them. I don't think they're great anymore. I mean, Tom Brady is unbelievable, but I'm not sure the rest of them are great. And I don't know if Nick Foles will fold up or what he'll do. He'll fold up or what he'll do. But with Carson Wentz, I think they'd have won the game for sure.
Oh,
I've not even seen the game played. Yeah, I think.
Are you picking an Eagles victory?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope you're right, because I just don't want to see the Patriots win.
Yeah, I agree. It would literally it'd be Team X versus the Patriots, and I will put up flags for Team X at my Super Bowl party.
A lot of people feel that way too. I guess when you've been, this is how many Super Bowls for them? Too damn many. 8.
Yeah, this is their 8th appearance, and they're going for three out of 4 years for the second time.
6th win?
Yeah,
they lost twice to the Giants.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Hey, the Bears have been in 2. Bears have been in 2.
Well, that was a week that we were down there, Terry. We did Miami after. Yep. So the 4 years that we did together, we did Houston, which is a dump. Then we went to Jacksonville,
Indeed.
then Detroit, and so after those 3, I was like, I'm good going. We don't need to go. And then they sent us down to Miami, and of course it was the Bears and the Colts. Have you followed much of what's happened with the Bears since the end of the season?
Not really. I
Did you know John Fox was fired?
Yes, I do. I realize that John Fox has taken his stupid ass and gone elsewhere. But yeah, I know they have a new coach and knew this and knew that, but I don't trust them, and I don't. That was one of the teams that I never really seemed to get along with anyway. So that's okay. That's okay. I mean, I'm all right with that, and I know it used to be important. I don't know how important you were sitting there this entire season. Are the Bears important to people as they used to be?
They still are. It's still a Bears town. I mean, as beloved as the Cubs are, and as successful as the Cubs have been, and they're going to be successful for years to come. It's still a Bears town, and it's always going to be a Bears town. And even, we always wondered, well, what would happen if the Cubs won a World Series or became good? Well, we saw that, it's still a Bears
Right.
town. Even with a bad team, it's still the number one thing that brings all the fan base together is to support the Bears. Now, most of the fan base isn't happy, but there's a lot of optimism now with what Ryan Pace did this offseason, hiring Matt Nagy, and it's kind of split on Mitch Trubisky though. Like people, I've heard bust, and I've heard the guy's got some great potential. So it's a pretty wide range with the quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know much about the new coach. I do know this, that despite all his success and all the things that Andy Reid has done right over the years, both in Philadelphia and then with the Chiefs, I don't know if I want one of his coaches after that game, after the playoff game they lost. I just don't get what you're doing. I mean, what are you doing, Andy? And is this guy going to be that guy again too? Like, what exactly are you doing here? You're beating the crap out of this team, and then all of a sudden they're there. You're not doing this. You're not doing this the right way. You're kind of backing off the throttle a little bit. What are you doing? And you end up losing. And then you end up trading the quarterback. How about that?
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't hear it, but Matt Nagy, when he was introduced to the Bears and he was meeting the media, he was asked about that game, that loss to the Titans.
He took the bullet.
Yeah, he took the bullet for it. I don't know if it was accurate because there was a report that came out of KC that Andy Reid took over play calling. Matt Nagy said no. He goes, I called plays the entire game, and that was all on me, and it was a learning experience. He actually said the things you want a guy to say. I just don't know if it was all accurate, but if it was refreshing to hear the guy say, yeah, it was me. I let up, and I shouldn't have, and I'm going to learn from it and get better. It's a real bad time, though, to make that kind of mistake in a playoff game.
Yeah, I agree. And, I mean, I don't know if it was Andy Reid, it was him, whatever. I enjoy his honesty if that's so. That would be refreshing for a Bears coach to actually be honest about something. But
yeah,
I look at it and say, well, I don't know that much about him, but I don't trust Andy Reid. I mean, because when I saw it, he said, it was my fault. And now you say Nagy says it's his fault, whatever. But I just, there's something about the system I don't like. I mean, I even though they win, I mean, I think the Bears fans would be happy to win 11 games, wouldn't they, in a year? I think they'd make people delirious.
2 years, they'd be happy to win 11 games.
You tried John Buck's career. It was barely 11 games. So I guess. I mean, I suppose he's okay. He's young enough and all everything else to be excited about it. But he still needs some players too. By the way, he still needs a little bit of help from Ryan Pace. So he needs a little bit of help just yet to get anywhere with this team, because that division is not going to get remarkably worse over the years. Although the Vikings have no idea who their quarterback's going to be next year, and the Packers are probably be okay again. And I don't know. In Detroit, I don't know. They're paying the quarterback more than anybody in football.
Well, roster-wise, even with 3 unsigned quarterbacks in Minnesota, everyone is stronger than us. So I like there's nowhere to go but up thing. But I don't know. You never know. A couple of tweaks. I think our defense is good. Like, just bring a couple more people in. I don't think we're a toilet team by any means, and I think this offseason is going to be more crucial than any of the last several.
Well, he's going to have to find some players. Yeah, there's no doubt. He's going to have to do it again. He's going to have to find some help for the guy. So, I have no animus toward the Bears. I mean, I have towards Mike Ditka, and that. There's some there, but that's okay. He's long gone doing stupid commercials he does. So that's okay. That's fine. He can do that. But the rest of them, no, I don't have any problem with them. We always have. Is this true, Matt? Or didn't we always have fun with Jerry Angelo?
Oh, Jerry Angelo was the best. He was one of my favorite guys that we dealt with. Remember when we sent him? I don't remember what season it was, but after the season, we sent him a spa package to go take care of himself.
Yes,
like to get a massage and a manicure and pedicure, and remember he sent me a handwritten thank you note, which I was completely blown away with. The fact that he took the time to do it and handwrite it, but that he responded to a gift that was 90% all to be fun and not like, hey, seriously, go pamper yourself. So I always enjoyed talking to Jerry. He was always kind and always generous with his time.
He kind of seems like that guy who would hand you an envelope of cash at your wedding, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, I mean, like I say, there have been Bears guys over the years that I've liked a lot. I mean,
he's one of them.
Onset and I used to get along. I got along with a lot of them.
Oh, that guy's great.
Jerry was great. Jerry was great. I mean, are you kidding me? Take his kid to the rodeo in Wyoming or whatever, or Colorado, whatever he was taking the kid. So, no, I had no problem with him. I mean, I don't know Ryan Pace, and you know what? If I'm lucky, I'll keep it that way. So I'll treasure my memories of Jerry Angelo. He's not dead, but I'll treasure them. He was great.
Hey, Terry, I know that the 85 Bears in this town now, based on, what's happened since then, is kind of it's a really polarizing subject because there are people who are just still locked on, and I'm one of them, not like bragging about it to people, but fortunate enough to have lived through that experience. I just saw on Monday the 85 Bears documentary. My wife and I went, and it was outstanding. Just the footage of the fans with the mustaches and all that stuff was like a sidebar funny, but like it was really, really well done. And I was just curious, you were there through it in a sports capacity. What was that like? And like, what are your thoughts on it kind of now? Are you like, people just get over it, or should they still appreciate it?
You know what? I would say that to me, and this is probably because I didn't get along with Dick at all, which is no problem. We did shows together, just didn't speak to one another, so that's not a problem. I have no trouble with that. But I've always felt like I don't care. Somebody somewhere had to save the quarterback situation, because tell me that isn't the best football team that didn't win at least 2 Super Bowls. Is there been a better team in the NFL that didn't win at least 2?
Shocking, or more. Yeah, shocking. Absolutely.
I mean, come on. I don't care.
Or win a playoff game.
Yeah. I mean, and they got beat, and the Niners wouldn't just beat them; they drub them. The Skins drubbed them. I mean, it's like, okay, all right, but
Giants, yeah.
I understand that. But that was Ditka's idea. That's who they want. I just think there could have been something done, if that's who you're going to blame it on ultimately, and the fans did that. Well, we didn't have a quarterback. You know what? Look, you had plenty of time. That Jim McMahon was always hurt. There was always something wrong with him. He was one of those guys that you couldn't rely on. You had to have a quality player sitting there, and you didn't need a great player because they were still a really good team. But to me, in the entire history of the NFL, that's by far the best team I've ever seen that didn't win more than 1 Super Bowl. That did not, and really didn't come close. Never made it back. Never made it back to another one with that group of players. Yep. So they all were shocked to a man. Every interview they did was like, I can't believe that we didn't win one. And then, a couple of people said if Buddy would have returned. Actually, I think Otis and Dent and Fensick said if Buddy would have returned, they would have won another one. And then, like most people said, if we would have had Jim healthy starting, we would have won 3. But you couldn't count on Jim. It's like one of those things that you look at and you say, you know what, you got to start making plans for this. I mean, even a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's out there right now, is the hottest thing going in the NFL. Is 6 teams who can't wait to get their hands on him. Even if he had a guy that could play to that level, just to play to that level, not to a great level, but just to play to that level, you might have won 1 or 2 more. I mean, to me, that's what I remember them for, not for what they did, and it's probably the wrong thing to do, but for what they didn't do, what they didn't accomplish with a team that great. Because, I mean, that was historic what they did. They were an unbelievable defensive team. They're just an unbelievable team in most ways. But and the bluster and the braggadocio and the video and everything else they did was absolutely backed up until the fact of actually like winning more than 1. Because, I mean, the Niners have gone way by them. The Patriots have gone way by. I mean, so many teams over the years now. And the Bears have sort of fallen back into this. Because to me, if I'm running a football team right now and they're still talking about the 85 Bears, that's an insult. That makes me an idiot if I'm running this team. And I can't ever escape that. I mean, you're talking about 30 years ago, and I can't get away from that shadow. I can't get away from the 85 Bears. Well, that's because your team sucks, dude. I mean, and even Lovey's teams. You know, he gets fired. He wins 10 games and he gets fired. Okay, I actually understood that to a certain point that they weren't going, but they weren't ever going to win at all. They were good, but they weren't like the Bears of '85. We would think no matter what, because you see teams do it these days. When Denver won the Super Bowl, they did it with defense. They had Peyton Manning. The last Super Bowl they had Peyton Manning, but he wasn't any good. He wasn't great that game. He wasn't like, oh my God,
the whole year
he's been bad. He was bad, and they still won. So, I mean, you could make moves or do something. Figure out something so you didn't get caught in that same trap again. You'd caught year after year after year after year. Well, Jim McMahon's hurt. Well, idiot, you had the entire off season to do something about it. Then you had this off season. Then you had that one to do something about it. Figure something out. I mean, don't let it just go up. And to me, that's what I remember the most about is way too good to have only won one Super Bowl.
Is Brian Urlacher a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yes.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think he is. I don't see how he isn't. I mean, one of the most dominant players of his generation, I think. I mean, he wasn't like Ray Lewis. He wasn't crazy and he wasn't killing people, but I mean, at least off the field. But his understanding of it, yeah, he wasn't any dead bodies left in Atlanta by Brian. He had other issues, obviously, but yeah, I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I do. And his new hair is lovely too. So I think there's a.
You should see the billboards.
Yeah,
there are many billboards.
It's not good, Terry. And they got Sandberg on there now. Getting the hair restoration. Yeah.
What do you think? No.
No, it's yeah, whatever. You know, I don't know. Good luck, Rhino. Maybe they give him a personality too. This is episode 23 of the Batacola Ferrari Discuss Everything podcast. We're visiting with our good friend Terry Boers, radio legend here in Chicago. And we are brought to you by our good friends Mickey Finn's, Lake County's original brew pub. They're located at 345 North Milwaukee Avenue in beautiful and historic downtown Libertyville. Sunday they're closing early. They're closing at 2:30 for the big game. So if you want to get out there, get there early. Also have a special on wings, $9.95 for a pound of wings. Pick those up for your Super Bowl party that you're hosting at your house. Also Saturday live music as they have every weekend at Mickey Finn's. Zydeco Voodoo and a Mardi Gras party Saturday night. Get really, really hungover, stay drunk, go there in the morning for brunch, get yourself some wings, go back home and watch the game.
Let's go to the Batacola trip.
Yeah, right, gosh, yeah. Well, not anymore, Terry, but used to be.
Not anymore, but
yeah, like a weekend wouldn't be long enough. Check them out on Twitter at Mickey Fins and give them a call, 847-362-BREW, B-R-E-W. All right, so Terry, 25 years in Chicago radio, 25 years in the score, a day one guy. Last day was January 5th, 2017. Tell me, what was your favorite thing to talk about on the air in those 25 years? Your favorite, whether it was a team or a situation, and then tell me the one situation, one area, one topic, one day, whatever it might be that sticks out in your mind that you wish you could go back and do it over again.
Well, I'd say the most memorable came early. In both instances, really, and when you do 25 years, that's a long damn time. But the first one that sticks in my mind to this very minute, and I talked a lot about it in the book, was the O.J. Simpson trial. Because it wasn't just O.J. Simpson on trial. Apparently, to a lot of people, it was like Black America on trial. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. It's got nothing. No, it's not. It is not that. So, I mean, I had
any other trial.
Yeah, I mean that's all it was to me. You're either guilty or innocent. It's a matter of right and wrong. It's not a matter of color or anything else. And certainly, O.J. Simpson wasn't going to get railroaded by the system, which actually they managed to get a not guilty verdict because people are stupid. But I mean, the fact is, you know he did it. I know he did it. So I got so tired of arguing it because I fought with him for days, just the days and weeks. Because remember, the trial went on 10 months. I mean, it never stopped. And you'd be talking about something else or something else would come up during the day, and sooner or later during one of those days, the O.J. Simpson call would come in and still looking to get me for it. Like, yeah, okay, now I did it. It's my fault. But it explained a lot to me just when I thought that progress was being made in racial relations. Clearly that's not true. Clearly it's not true right now because things couldn't be worse. I mean, it just couldn't be the way this country is going these days. So I felt bad. So many of those days so empty when I got done that I felt like I'd been running a marathon. Even back in those days, I know we were on 5 hours. I think we were on 4 for most of it. And at the end of those 4 hours, there's probably rarely a day in there in those 10 months where there was an hour and a half spent on OJ. And just because people wanted to talk about it, it was the biggest story in the country, the trial of the century and all the other stuff. But guys, I never felt worse than I did some of those days getting off the air. I felt so empty for us as a people, as a country, as everything about it, because we turned what should be just justice into some referendum on race and everything. And I never believed in it. I grew up in an era. Of course, remember, Mike Ditka saw no oppression. Remember that statement, right?
Right.
He didn't see anybody oppressed when he was a kid. And I'm thinking, wait a minute.
What?
So, because then people somehow, they associate that with people that age, which would be me. He's about 10 years older than I am. But somehow it's associated, it's passed on where, yeah, you feel this. No, not everybody that grew up in the 60s like I did feels that way. Trust me on this. No, not everybody. No. Some of us are very aware of what's going on and very concerned and feel very awful. I feel awful a lot of days when I see stuff that goes on, especially in the last year. There's a lot of stuff that made me feel awful, just awful inside. So I think
it's gotten to the point. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. No.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it's gotten to the point that we're numb. Like Matt and I kind of talk about it all the time, and we do not need to go off into the political discussion, but
I'm not. No, I didn't want to either, and I try to avoid it. I don't do it on Twitter.
We can't believe that this is happening, but it's been, like you said, it's been a year plus of it, to the point where when you see something else that happens, obviously we react as compassionate people, but it's just like, you throw your hands up in the air. It's commonplace.
It's the point there that we are compassionate. I mean, there are millions and millions of Americans who are compassionate people, who are good people, who do feel that way. Don't let the voice of the stupid or the ones who have a vested interest or whatever it would be, don't let them paint a picture of all of us. That's what bothers me, is that all of this, that, or the other is bad because that's bad, therefore you're bad. And it's not. And that's when guys like Ditka make those stupid statements, it makes it seem like every guy sure, he's a white guy in the 60s or 70s, that's the way they all feel. No, it's not. No, it is not. No, it is not. So
having the OJ trial, that was your most memorable aspect, and not always in a positive way. But so if there was one thing you could go back, whether it was one topic or one story or one day that jumps out at you that you could go back and maybe redo. You could get back in the studio and redo this one thing. What would it be?
You know what I probably do? And even though I can't explain to this very minute, and it wasn't a sports topic. Sports never moves me like other stuff moves me. I mean, it just doesn't. And even when I was covering it and loving it, it still doesn't. But I would probably, if I had to do it all over again, I would have liked to stayed around on 9/11. I should have stayed and done the show that day. I just felt so awful and so overwhelmed by all of it that I couldn't. So I mean, I've lived through various things, and just getting through the 60s. You had the president assassinated, the presidential candidate assassinated, Martin Luther King assassinated. I mean, it was like, and the Vietnam War, which took up my generation's entire drive, the ambition, and everything that you had as a kid, if you had any, I mean, was wasted on a lot of anger over the Vietnam War. And when Ken Burns did the Vietnam thing, which I think was like a 7 or 8 part, I don't know if you guys saw that. It was so good, and it brought back every memory. Was like a lightning bolt to my head, going, "Oh God, I remember that now." I mean, it's like, and I'm not talking about the killings at Kent State or anything. I know that, but I mean, just little things about that war. And you felt like an outsider because we were divided then too. We were divided in the camps of people my age at that point, which we called the draft age, that wanted to go and fight because it was our country, and then people like me who didn't want to go and fight because the war was a complete waste of time and waste of life. I mean, I think there were all told 57,000 or something like that Americans killed there, and I'm thinking, for what? For what? And I think it gave me, the first time I ever got involved with politics of any kind was during those presidential campaigns, because I wanted to get rid of the Republicans. I wanted to get rid of anybody who wanted to continue that war. So it was like I always fell on the side of the guy who said this has got to end. They were lying, as it turns out. They're all lying about it, but, at least it sounded good. Well, we got to get out of it. Lyndon B. Johnson, we got to get out of there. And then Nixon, well, we'll get out of it. No, you didn't do it either. You let it go on forever. So I mean, it was funny being put in a spot, and I haven't really been in that spot since, because I'm with you guys. I do. It doesn't sound like it, but I do keep the political stuff because it's so awful these days that you just waste your time arguing with people about it. But there was no hotter political issue than that war. So that war,
Terry, it's amazing. It's amazing to me today that there are things that we don't know, and there are some stuff that's not revealed yet. But the things that we do know, like Michael Flynn, for example, and this was a guy who was appointed National Security Advisor. He has pled guilty to lying to the FBI about his relationship with a foreign government. Those are all facts. And that Americans can take that fact and those facts and view them so differently, it's mind-boggling to me, and it's frustrating and it's saddening. But it's like, how do you take those facts and just either ignore them and not be so angry over them, and realize that where there's this instance, there are others of greater impact in our government today. So it's amazing that we can have a situation like Vietnam, like the things on a smaller scale of where 45's presidency is at right now, and have Americans view them so differently.
Well, and that it's a great example, Matt, because that's exactly where we are. We were in 1967 and 68 and 69 and 70. That's exactly where we were. And you had the same facts in front of you. They were available for you. There was no hiding. Nobody was hiding what the purpose of the war was, what the war was about. Nobody was, some people would lie to you. Some people would tell you the truth. It was your job. You sort of had to pick your facts, but it wasn't as bitter as it is now. Even over something like that, where lives were being lost constantly, where we were in a war that we couldn't win. And I mean, I think it was probably 5 or 6 years before it ever ended that Lyndon B. Johnson said, we can't ever win this. I want to say he's the one who said we can't win this war. And everybody thought we could win this. No, we can't win this war, and we didn't win the war. And those are kind of facts that, it created the same kind of atmosphere, because every college campus was charged up. Everybody was in one camp or the other. You either were for or against, and a vote against, not unlike what a lot of things we hear today, guys, is, well, that's a vote against America. And you're not a real American if you don't want to go fight in Vietnam. And I'm thinking, no, I'm as real American as it can get. But
you're educated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and
more commonsensical, whatever, logical.
Yeah, well, it wasn't logical, and even a guy. Can you imagine? A guy like Muhammad Ali, what his stand on it was, that I ain't got no trouble with the Viet. How do you put? I got no problem with the Viet Cong. Something to the words to those affected. I don't know them. I don't have anything against them. But today, a guy can't even show his emotion on a sideline before a game without drawing ire and charges of being un-American, and you hate this country, and why don't you get out of my country, and all this other stuff. Our discourse about the things that matter to us, that should matter the most to us, is awful. We have
Well, Terry, not only that, I mean, you can't have a football player do that, every right he has as an American citizen, without the president commenting on it on TV.
On Twitter.
I mean, that's what's amazing. I mean, he wants to plant himself into social media like that, and TV and comment and be like, "Oh, I want to see that guy fired. He should be out of here." Like that's not what you do as president.
Right. That had to be the first time anything of that nature happened in the State of the Union. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't think LBJ or Nixon were not tweeting during the Vietnam War either. They were not. Nor were any of the candidates, nor any of it. But it was the same type of thing.
Yeah, you mentioned 9/11, and I was there with you guys on that day. That was an internship day for me, and
then I wasn't there.
Yeah, I know, and Terry, no one, I've never heard, and there was never any conversations of any criticism for you for that day, and I know how you feel about it now that you've expressed that. But there's no negativity because you couldn't do it. I think it was this, and emotionally, it was just too difficult for you to do. Now, fortunately, I mean, you had a partner who is mostly robot, so he was able to function and get through the day like a pro. I mean, he was spectacular that day in what he did in leading the sharing of information and news as best as we could for a sports station. But yeah, there's no criticism because you couldn't do it emotionally.
I really couldn't, and that is really a complete lack of professionalism. But I emotionally, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But no, that's an absolute lack of professionalism. I mean, I've since learned that see, if I had to do that all over again, I would stay, even though I'm not sure what I would have been able to contribute, but I would have stayed. But yeah, he did do a good job that day. So
he was absolutely great that day. I mean, just unbelievable, and the phone calls I was making, and the directions that they were giving me, and call this, find out this, but he was there. He was there like a real pro. I mean, it really showed his professionalism and his ability to navigate that situation so well. Yeah, so that's the one compliment for the year for Dan Bernstein.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's about it for
that we're recording.
Right.
Well, no, it's the one. That's it.
And I think when you talk about memorable, I think the week following that was that. I think that's one you'll never forget either because nobody knew how to react. I mean, I never considered our show very serious, and that's why I would avoid this talk even now on there. But I find it interesting that for that week, it was probably the most serious the show ever was because I did my damnedest every damn day to make sure it wasn't. It's a sports show. We're not going to change the world with a sports show. But in that week after that, while we were trying to figure out when we should all laugh again, when is it acceptable to have a good time again, when can we be ourselves again? What is it going to take? When is it going to happen? When is somebody going to break this bubble we're all in that we just didn't know what to do. We didn't want to offend everything. All of us were still stunned. You didn't know what to say. You wanted to make sure you didn't say anything. You certainly didn't want to appear happy. You didn't want to appear you were having a good time. So when was this ever going to end? And I mean, I don't know how well, Matt, you remember those week of shows, but I'm sure they were awful. I mean, I have no doubt that if Boers and Bernstein wasn't meant to be funny, because that we certainly turned it into that. I mean, that was the idea. It's going to be fun. That's what all the bits, it was going to be fun. It's going to be sitting here talking. We're not going to change the course of the world with a sports show. So, but for that week, and it was so bad, I've just blacked it out of my memory. I don't even remember a lot about those shows until the guy called up and sang, "It's a grand old flag."
Yep.
I mean, until then, and he did that, and then Letterman came out and did a monologue, and I want to say it was almost a week into it, and when he had people laughing, then we decided that okay, he speaks for us, then we can laugh. But that week was difficult. I mean, my memories of this stuff, when you do sports for so long, because I've been sports in one way or the other from 1972 on. So one way or the other, I was doing them, and I think there's after a while, it just goes out of your mind. You may remember some things, and I do remember some things, but in terms of stuff that makes you stop and say, "Oh my God, what do we do then?" And how must have those shows have sounded to people who had listened to this thing? Because we were still fairly new then. We were still trying to establish an identity for that show. I mean, I'd basically been told, well, you sucked. We'll keep you here. But, you already my message with the whole shuffle was that you had already failed once, and you're not going to be allowed to fail twice. I mean, I was probably lucky to do that. And here we are trying to establish something. And really that happens. And I don't know what we established. And I don't recall enough about those shows. I know they weren't any fun. I know they were not fun, and I know nobody else was having any fun. But those things just stick in your mind. You go, oh my God.
Yeah,
how did we navigate that?
That whole week after, those shows after, it was pretty heavy. It was just a heavy feeling, and I just think no one knew how to appropriately get us out of that heavy feeling to kind of begin moving forward, just for the fear of showing a lack of respect to people and to what happened by moving forward in life. And it wasn't until, like you mentioned, guy calls up and is like, I'd like to sing, and he just sang Your Grand Old Flag on the air, and it kind of opened things up for us to kind of, yeah, you know what, part of it and part of what America was built on was being able to move past these types of difficulties and tragedies, and so that's what we're able to do.
So I think,
we finally moved past
actually, Matt and I were in school together at this time, and we were less like dribbling idiots for at least that week, and then, picked it back up. But one thing that I always think of, and you sparked this thought in my mind too, is, there was kind of a week countrywide from any show that was comedy-based, rightfully so, because everyone was just trying to digest what happened, trying not to be disrespectful, but like SNL having Giuliani on and going on a week late, like the balls on some of these people, I appreciated it so much. But like my favorite, any of the talk shows, they all were like, all right, you know what? Here's the ultimate middle finger to the people who did this to us. We're still going to laugh. You didn't win anything. And I thought Letterman, Letterman in general is just a badass. His new show on Netflix with the interview with Obama is unbelievable. But I thought he killed it. Like, he totally tackled it well, and I don't know. I felt better after watching that show. So,
yeah, I mean, there's still human beings out there. Yeah, there's still somebody with a brain. So I know that's right. It's just it sticks in your mind that it wasn't you. You're not sure who it was, who was doing that for that week. Who was that guy that was sitting there? Because that wasn't me, and that wasn't even Dan, really. I mean, it was sort of him, because I know he could handle that kind of stuff better than I did. But it was a week that I guess with me, that what you don't do well stays with me a lot longer than what you do well. If that makes
that
makes sense to you.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the way I am. It isn't what I do that I say, oh man, I got that. It's what I don't. Because I don't really spend any time celebrating me. So there's very little reason or cause to do so. So I have this thing about when I'm bad or when I'm down or when I'm whatever, it stays with me longer than if I'm brilliant, which I don't know when that would have been, but it was
more often than you think.
That entire week was it was, and I mean I like I say, if I had it to do all over again, I would have stayed that day. And I don't know if there's anything, as you correctly point out, that you could have changed the week after that. You couldn't change the mood of a country. And we had no permission to do anything. So we just kind of followed the lead of everybody else, that just solemn and respectful and everything else you wanted to be during that week. But those are the things that stick out to me more than the sports stuff. Because let's face it, I didn't get to, I did get right to the lead up of the start of the World Series of the Cubs, but I didn't get to the biggest sports story of the maybe ever. The Cubs winning the World Series.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's where I want to get into our final thing with you. And you've been more than generous in spending time with us. 1972, you started covering sports, so you're basically spanning 45 years of covering sports in some aspect, 25 years of doing the score. So you did see a Bears championship. You did see the Bulls win 6 in the 90s. You saw the 2005 White Sox World Series up close. You saw multiple Blackhawks championships over the last decade. And you were there, as much as you could be with what you're dealing with for the Cubs to win the World Series. Of those championships that you saw, what was the greatest experience that you had in covering a Chicago championship team?
Well, I think in covering one, it was the Bulls. I mean, that first title in '91 was unbelievable. That was like this death march that had taken forever to get past the Pistons and all those awful losses and the bad blood and everything else, and then winning that championship. I was doing the game stories, and they called me back and said, "Okay, can you come in and get the game stories to us on time?" I said, "Yeah, I think I still can do that. I can't do much else. I can do that for you." So that is memorable to me, just because of the being around it for so long and the simmering, the bad blood and everything else that went into that championship. And from a distance, it's the Cubs. There's no question. And I'm sorry, not 85 Bears, but I was in North Carolina doing the NCAA tournament. Or what was I doing? I was covering some kind of a tournament. But anyway, nothing to me. I mean, when you're talking, I don't really know if there were 5 million people down there in Chicago at that parade. I don't know that there were, but I just think that of all the sports stories, you know, and people have written about this and say, what's the one sports story that you haven't seen? It was always the Cubs. For decades, it was the Cubs, the Cubs, the Cubs, the Cubs. And even though I realize that the baseball loyalties in Chicago are split, although it's probably 3/4 to 1/4, that still was one of the 5 biggest sports stories of all time. To me, of all time, that Cub victory. So I think that one was more significant, and covering it, being around it, were the Bulls of '91 when they won that first one when they beat the Lakers. And even though the Lakers were hurt and old and bad and didn't have much left, it was a 4-1 series, as I recall, and not really much of a resistance. Magic Johnson was on his last leg. You know, he was hurt, and James Worthy wasn't really great anymore, and it was just one of those things where the Bulls were going to beat the crap out of them and did. Even at that, because they'd never won it, obviously. They'd made one other final in their history, and then along comes Michael Jordan, and it started, which a run I don't know that we'll ever see again. I mean, because every year he played, they won after that. They win 3 in a row, he retires, then comes back and they win 3 more. I mean, when are we going to see that again? Never. You're never going to see that again.
So an argument.
Yeah, I just so that I think those two. I mean, the White Sox was quite something. We did get a close personal look at that, and I remember you and Danny in Houston having a great time together.
We always had a great time together. As long as we weren't working in the studio, yeah. And there was beverages to be had. We always had a great time together.
So
right,
I think those two.
Final couple quick things for you here as we wrap up.
Yeah, so I actually wrote questions on a notepad because, you know, I'm old school.
It's a yellow pad, too.
Yeah, it is a yellow pad.
Murph yellow
It's
pad.
you.
You're a yellow pad. All right, so first question, and actually you touched on it at the beginning, but our conversation has gone where it goes, which is amazing. I'm glad. But you talked about being a writer, and not just writing the book, but being a sports writer. And obviously you did that, and you were a broadcaster for a very long time. And I know you continued to write when you were broadcasting. So did you, from your career, enjoy being a writer or a broadcaster more?
Well, I mean, certainly from an aspect of lifestyle, you take the broadcasting. I mean, certainly I still consider myself first and foremost a writer. I do. I mean, I will always do that. I mean, that's what I did for 20 years. I could have done it for another 20. I mean, writers can last forever too, as long as you can haul your old ass to an airplane. But
Elliot Sam
Smith. that's about what that is. So I still consider myself more of that than a sports. I mean, I have a hard time with the sports icon and all this other stuff that I've been hit with. I mean, I don't feel any of that, and I closely identify because I know that's where I gained entry into any of it. That's what made all of it possible, whether it was the Score or GN doing the sports writers with them, and so I think that's that will always be my identity to me. It might not be to everybody else because you had a whole new audience to the Score that probably didn't even know I ever wrote. I remember getting stuff from people saying, "What did you used to do? What was that?" So, I mean, it was a whole different kind of thing. Yeah, what is this? What do you do? So I think always more closely identified with writing, even though it'd been a long time in between. But I still think that. I mean, I still don't know that much about radio, even as we speak.
Stop.
Well, no,
I still don't.
You understand how to a microphone and how to go in and out of the room. I mean, that's really that's a start.
And that's about it, by the way. That's the depth right there.
I just thought of something. Do you remember the name? Remember the name John Roach?
Yes. Let me refresh me. I know.
Creator of the Sports Writers.
Yes, that's right.
That is my wife's boss.
Is it?
I swear. I swear, I think I told Matt to tell you about it, but that was when you were prepping for the last show, so I'm quite sure that wasn't top of mind.
I don't think you said
but
to
yeah,
me, no.
I figured you'd get a kick out of that. John Roach my wife is a business manager for his company.
Boy, that's been a long damn time since I heard that name. You realize how long that's been? It's been 30 years. Oh my God.
Yeah,
okay. That's about right. That's about right. Yeah.
Since the Bears won a Super Bowl.
That's exactly right. It's been about that long since I heard that name.
Well, I will. I'll pass along your hello, and I know that.
Do that.
He said to say hello to you as well, and he gave me a signed Walter Payton picture that is in our studio. So he's a good dude.
He was. Yeah.
Last question for you. The funny thing is, Matt and I were talking about this beforehand because I know how we would answer it, given the marketplace. But if you could give any advice to people who are aspiring to get into, not only just radio or TV, but writers as well, anything that you've done in your career, what would that be?
Patience. I think that with anything, and particularly now, and I would teach journalism, and I've had offers to do so, and I really don't want to because I just don't think it's leading anywhere these days. But patience is the utmost because now the whole thing has changed, and newspapers have sort of hit this point where they really don't matter that much. I mean, some still do, but most are kind of just hanging on by a thread. I mean, a lot of stuff you notice that I notice now that maybe people who haven't read the paper for 50 years or whatever I've been reading it don't know. I notice things. It's still patience, I would say, but you'd be better off. And even though it's very competitive, you can ask Matt about this, or you know that it's so difficult to make any headway in radio as well. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to do. There's all kinds of talented people that haven't had their chance yet. Hopefully their chance will come. But I mean, if you're choosing between the two, if you say, okay, I really can do this and I feel I can do this, I would probably tell you to try the radio because I just don't know where the newspaper thing is headed. I mean, and the writing. I mean, there's still plenty of room for it if you can do it. I mean, not that it isn't a great medium. It is. It's still my favorite thing to do. But I think there's just so difficult these days at a paper. I mean, and sometimes it's made cut after cut after cut, and it's kind of a shoestring thing that you have. But I knew this was going to happen way back when. That's why I wanted to get the hell out of it. But as much as I'd like to say, oh yeah, journalism is great, and I do. But in all good conscience, I could not say to somebody, yeah, we'll get you started in journalism. You'll be fine because I don't know that you will be. I don't know that you will be. And everything has changed so much. And I don't even know how much interest you have amongst kids. I mean, I know there's still journalism classes and so forth, but I don't know how much of a call it is because our society has changed. I mean, the thing of the millennials and all the younger people, it's not writing. I mean, it may be some form of writing, but not newspapers. I don't see any. You get some young people here and there, but when you look at our papers, when's the last time you saw a great new name in either Chicago paper?
Well, other than sports, and that's even
and
rare.
Not only that, too, Terry. It's about the younger generations even reading the newspaper,
right? Or reading it, period.
Right. I mean, because for me growing up, Jason and you obviously grew up reading papers. That was the thing as a kid. You saw your dad read the paper, and you associated that with adulthood and growing up and becoming a man was reading the paper and taking the Sunday paper into the crapper with you.
I was just going to say, I would read the tainted paper after my dad would bring it back out of the bathroom.
So you're in the crapper with the Sunday paper and a pot of coffee and a pack of Marlboros. That's manhood right there.
That's your dad.
It's my youth.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or your last Tuesday.
Yeah, or last Tuesday. I just can't. It just is something that's a difficult question because of the circumstances. I mean, I could wax poetic about it and say all this, but it just isn't true. It just doesn't ring true. And this generation, it is not interested in it. I mean, I'm not saying they can't write. They probably can, but they're just not interested in it because it isn't as fulfilling. It's just not the same. So I would it'd be very difficult for me to say, you know what, here's what you ought to do. You ought to go after that degree in journalism. I mean, if I said that to somebody, you'd hit yourself in the head. What are you talking about? No, it wouldn't be. I mean, that's the last thing you'd probably need. So And radio too is tough. It's not easy. It's not easy to break through there and get something that you want done. So I think there's a finite amount of people who make it from point A to point B in either business these days. And like I say, just think about when's the last time you saw a great young writer at either the Tribune or Sun-Times. Think about it.
Yeah.
And get back to me.
I don't know. Yeah, unless it's like beat reporters or something along those lines. And I'm not saying that they're great, but they're the ones that are public facing. You know, they do their reports every day from Hallis Hall. They're on Twitter and stuff. But yeah, no one where I'm like, wow, that guy or girl, you know, is kick ass. You know, but I do appreciate, and you did bring this up though, is the longevity. I mean, writing definitely, like you said, if you can get your fat ass to a plane, like they stick around. You know, there are some sports, or not just sports, Chicago writers who have been here forever.
Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely, and most of them would still be there if they were healthy. So, I mean, I think they're, and some are dead and still want to write. So, I think there's that part of it will always exist. But I'm just saying, as a career path or career arc for somebody, that's a very difficult sell, and that's why I don't do it.
Right.
You know, I in all good conscience, I just can't do it. I mean, I could teach a class. I know enough to handle that, but it just wouldn't be where my heart is. It wouldn't be genuine because I just know how difficult it is, and that the interest, there might be some interest. I know Lawrence Holmes, our buddy, teaches a class, and he does well with it. But you know, to me, if that's really your passion in life, good luck. Good luck. I would just try to find something else.
PB, thank you.
We agree.
Thank you for your generous amount of time and all the topics we covered. A couple of thank yous here to pass along. This is episode 23 of the AFDE show, and it's our Terry Boers episode, our first long-form interview, and wanted it to be with you for sure. We do thank our good friends Will's Northwoods Inn. You can check them out, willsnorthwoodsin.com, 3030 North Racine. They got stuff going on for Sunday for the game, and of course our presenting sponsor, Mickey Finn's. They're at 345 North Milwaukee Avenue in beautiful and historic downtown Libertyville. Check them out at Mickey Finn's on Twitter, also on their Facebook page, 847-362-BREW, B-R-E-W, and they have their Kolsch on tap right now, and it will be there for the next several weeks. Get in there and check that out. Terry Boers, thank you very much, my friend. It was a great conversation. We do appreciate all the time. Absolutely so glad to hear not only you sounding well, but doing well, and you keep at that softball thing. It might click in one of these years for you, buddy.
Yeah, one of these years. I don't get killed for dying. My pleasure, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Terry.
Amazing. We appreciate it.
Talk to you, buddy. Love you very much, pal.
You got it.